George Kilpatrick Inspiration for the Nation. We continue here in the Community Inspiration Hour with Clifford Ryan, founder of OGs Against Gun Violence. And Clifford's got a new book out, and we'll talk about that in just a second. I just want to catch up with you on a few things, Clifford, before we get into the book. First of all, how are you doing now? I know how you had a fire where you lost everything, and I know that the outpouring of we haven't talked on the air about that since that's happened to you. So talk to me about that, and I'm gonna have to just give you one quick second. Yeah.
So from that tragic situation, with the house fire, I was able to make a full recovery thanks to the kind, generous donations from the Syracuse community. They really, really came through, and I was able to recover fully from it. I did lose a lot, but in the process, I was able to recover some of the sentimental things, such as some of my awards and accolades that I received from the community, and some of the OGs memorabilia, like some of the signs and some of the bracelets and stuff that got caught in the fire. But I was able to make a full recovery, due to the outpouring of support from the donations and everything. Also, from that, I was able to purchase a vehicle, and I have the vehicle on the road now, and I'm in the process of moving into a new place. As soon as that place is available, uh, um, so I made a full recovery.
Amen. You, of course, are known to many in the Syracuse community because of the work you do, putting yourself in the front lines, right? Stopping violence. Talk about that work with OGs Against Gun Violence.
Yeah, so the organization was founded in 2015, and it's a violence interruption organization, and it's geared towards boots on the ground approach to dealing with the gun violence that we're facing here in the Syracuse community. We go out into the community and we stop shootings and stabbings and fights. We do a variety of outreach work as well, doing speaking engagements, for the different centers here in the city of Syracuse. So here in the city of Syracuse, we do a variety of outreach work as well as speaking in the schools and youth centers. I'm currently employed through the city of Syracuse, through Syracuse Parks and Recreation. I work with the youth over at the Magnarelli Center. Um, the organization has been established. We are a 501c3 now, non-for-profit. I have a board of directors, and I just recently completed training for a team that I'm going to be introducing to the Syracuse community as well. They took the violence interruption training, which we put together as a board, teaching the individuals what to expect when we go out into the community. They also took the mental health training for my good friend Tyrone Willie Elliott was nice enough to come in and do for us as well. So the organization is getting its footing under him, and we are continuing to do the hard work of the boots on the ground violence interruption in the community.
When you think about Mary Nelson was on the show, and I asked her why why are we here with the violence, particularly with our youth in the community? How would you answer that? And what would you say is what needs to be done? And I'm putting that in the context where we got all these programs, with all these initiatives, we got everything, and we're still seeing the violence happening in the community. From your vantage point, you're on the front lines. What's going on? Why isn't all of this working for some in our community?
It's working, but there's so much that's going on within the community as far as the violence and the gun violence is concerned that it overshadows the work that is being done in the community by other organizations such as Mary Nelson and others who are in the community doing work as well. Like to give you an example of what I mean by that is I stopped 44 shootings,
Mm.
right? Meaning individuals who had that firearm out, getting ready to pull that trigger, and I was able to stop them from pulling that trigger, saving their life as well as the individual's life who they could have possibly taken. Also, I stopped 300 stabbings and 1,000 fights. I'm breaking up fights on a daily basis. Those things aren't seen as much as you know people in the community who are out there when the incidents happen know that that work is being done, but the cameras aren't around or the news agencies aren't around when those type of things are happening. So it's not a matter of things not working. It's a point of things are happening so much in the community that the violence is overshadowing the hard work that is being done.
Let me say it a different way. Not that
Okay.
so yeah, maybe I did mean that it wasn't working, but what I am saying is with so many resources available, we're not under resourced, at least
Mhm.
from my perspective. And I'm saying, why is this happening despite the resources that we have? That's really where I'm going with that.
Because it's an epidemic. Violence is an epidemic that communities across the nation are facing. Um, there's so much gun violence going on, and so much violence going on. Um, you know, all of even with all of the resources that are available, um, those resources have to be put in place uh, so that they can have the strong impact that it could have. It could have a stronger impact, but getting those resources from officials are a part of the task as well. So even with all of the resources that we have here in our city, um, violence is going to always be around. It's just the point of us continuing to fight strong and never giving up on that fight to try to stop as much gun violence and violence in our community as we can possibly stop in the process.
So it's on us to not give up. Is it
Absolutely.
is it lack of unity?
That's a part of it. That's a part of it, definitely. I give you an example. Um, when we have so much division within our city when it comes down to doing things. And in order for uh, a people to be successful in that regard, we have to stand together. We have to support one another. We can't backstab each other, and we can't try to, overshadow each other. We have to stand together. We have to come together. Like you're giving me a platform right now. You're showing me support, and I'm showing you support. It takes that type of unity for us to, as a community, and we understand the challenges of that right there. We as a people, we have always had that challenge um, um, of coming together united. We have moments where we stand up together, and then we go right back to our own lives, and we have to learn how to stand t together consistently, and in order to get better results, get the better results that we would like from the unity.
Talking with Cliff Ryan, OGs Against Gun Violence, got a new book. We're getting to that book in just a second. I want to get
Yes.
into your head, though.
Mm-hmm.
What gives you the confidence to think you could go into a loaded gun situation and convince somebody to not shoot that gun to that other person and not fear that that gun could then be turned around on you?
Well, for one, if you know that all of our great leaders were fearless leaders, and I took a page from their knowledge in that regard. Uh, I have the heart of a lion. I'm not fearful of uh, going into situations such as that, um, and the rapport that I've built within the community, respect wise, allows me a little bit more leeway in that regard. In other words, out of respect for the work that I do and the effort that I make in the community in that regard, an individual will at least stop and think twice about doing something like that out of respect for me. And keep in mind that I've been in some situations, some dangerous situations where that threat has been put out there, and you have to know how to handle yourself when you're put in a dangerous situation where an individual said to me, if you don't get out of my way, I'll put a bullet in you. And I didn't meet that individual's aggression with aggression. I stayed calm and I spoke to him in a respectful manner in that regard, in that heat of that moment. When I said it to him, my very first words were to him were, excuse me, I don't mean no disrespect to you. Right. And that de-escalated him to that level where he could hear me now. Through that rage of him getting ready to pull that trigger, he could hear me actually say, hey,
Man,
I don't, you know, mean no disrespect.
and I'm thinking of, like, again, you're in that moment. You don't know if he's gonna hear that or not.
You don't. You know that you're putting your life on the line. And I understand the risk. I understand that doing violence interruption comes with a certain risk involved, and a certain sacrifice involved. Every great leader, George, and you know this as well, sacrificed their life for the cause.
Yeah.
Not that they wanted to lose their life, right? Not that they didn't want to continue to live, but they understood that sacrifice. When Dr. Martin Luther King said, I might not get to the mountaintop with you, right? That was important for people to understand. He knew there was a potential that he might not make it. And I don't liken myself to him in that regard because he was such a
Right.
great man.
You said,
But
I'm not
I
tripping. I'm
mean,
just saying this is what he said. Right.
yeah, you
Yeah.
know, and that was important. And I learned from that. You know, and so when the young man threatened my life, I stayed calm and I dealt with him from a perspective of that respect factor because I knew he didn't want to harm me. I knew he wanted to harm the individual that I was standing in front of, preventing him from shooting.
So you got in front of the other individual.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With my sign, and I had my sign up, and they couldn't get a target on each other. Right.
Because
And
the
then
other guy had a gun too.
Yes, both
Oh.
individuals had firearms out,
Mm.
and they were, you know, exchanging words back and forth. And I was more like a distraction
Yeah.
in that regard.
And
They knew who I was, they knew what I represent, you know. And like I said, when he said it, he thought about it, and as he walked away, he said to me, he shook his head and he meant, man, OG, you're crazy. And he went to walk away. He went to walk away. And as he walked away, the other individual walked away. And I gave him a few minutes and I went and talked to them both separately, and was able to de escalate that whole situation because they were getting ready, George, to shoot each other over saying word to somebody. You know how these young kids say word to this person or word to that
yes,
person?
I heard about this. And can you say more about that? Because I don't want to
Yeah.
assume that let's educate our listeners because I
Yes.
didn't know about this. So go
Mhm.
ahead.
So and we've lost individuals within our community that kids identify with.
Yeah,
And you'll hear them say word to this person or word to that person. It could be for anything,
right.
right?
But
And
once
that is
that is invoked, that
right,
that carries something with it.
right. And the individual that said it said to the other individual, don't say that because you never knew him, or you're disrespecting his name. And the other individual was like, you can't tell me what to say. And that just escalated into an argument. So now the kids that say it, I find myself educating them on, you know, the use of that term. If you're using that term in a negative narrative, that you're disrespecting that that lost loved one, you're disrespecting their family, and almost 99.9% of the families do not want individuals using that term, using their loved one as a metaphor, for you to make a point about, something trivial as making a point to someone about a fight that happened, or you're getting ready to go to the store, or it's
It's been
just
invoked for all
negative
kinds of
narrative.
things.
Yeah, they use it for negative narratives, and I told him, I said, hey, you shouldn't say that. That's disrespecting the honor of that individual.
How do you get there? How do you get there to be able to even de-escalate? So like do you have a bat phone? Somebody call you, yo, Cliff, get over here?
No, most of the time, I'm being honest with you, from the boots on the ground work, being out there, walking in the community, engaging the community from the boots on the ground perspective. Almost every single incident that I've stopped, I was in the right place at the right time because of the work of the boots on the ground, because of me walking out there in the community with my sign, going to the different areas, being, let's say I was in the Pioneer Homes.
And your sign is OGs against gun violence, right?
Right. OGs
Right.
against gun violence, our generation against violence. So I come in an area, and as I come in an area, I might see two individuals arguing. Right away, I spring into action.
Mm,
And from that, I stopped shootings and stabbings
mm.
and fights. Just recently, I stopped a 15-year-old from stabbing another 15-year-old with a butcher knife, a kitchen butcher knife.
Wow.
Okay.
And you're doing this unarmed yourself. You're not armed.
I'm not armed.
Non
I'm not armed.
non-violent non-violent violence interruption.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I am unarmed, and no one's really trying to harm me because they know what I represent and they respect what I represent. I'm not saying that it can't happen, because I did get hurt. I did get stabbed in my neck, but that person wasn't trying to harm me. I almost lost my life,
Mm.
okay, in the process of doing the violence interruption. And when that young lady took that swing and she popped me in my neck with that knife, it was in a critical area where, if I would have got to the hospital 5 minutes later, then I got there, the doctor said I might not be alive,
Mm.
right? Because my lung filled up with blood,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
But that young lady didn't mean to harm me. She was trying to harm someone else, and I stepped in and blocked what I thought was a punch.
All right, so here's the book.
That's the book.
OGs Against Gun
Yes.
Violence. We love
Yes.
our kids. Come together as one. Let's
Yes.
read it.
Okay. So we're gonna start off with story 1, right? And before I start off, right, George, I want to let you know that each story is true and actually happened, except for the last story. Um, I had to modify it because it ended in tragedy.
Okay.
Okay. So I modified it so that the kids could understand what not to do, as opposed to taking the action that the 2 kids who actually were involved in the incident, the action that they took.
So
All right. So
we probably won't get to all the stories. So pick the
okay.
one you want to read.
I'm gonna do the first story.
Okay,
I'm
there
gonna
you go.
just do the first story.
All right.
And so one afternoon, Raheem and his friends were playing in the park. Raheem found a bag behind the tree. There was a gun inside. He called his friends over to look. The kids wanted to pull the gun out of the bag, but Raheem stopped them. They asked, why? Raheem said, OGs Against Violence said never to touch a gun because someone could get hurt. We should tell an adult or the police. Raheem took the bag to a grown-up and told her where he and his friends found it. She called the police. Officer Jackson arrived to take the gun. She thanked the kids and told them they did the right thing, telling a grown-up. Officer Jackson was very proud of the kids.
And like you said, this actually happened.
Actually happened. This actually happened.
So this is a coloring book. Tell us about how this came about.
So I wanted to be able to reach out to the younger kids, because the younger kids in the community know what's going on. So I wanted to teach them not to touch firearms and what to do should they find themselves in a situation. And the way that this came about was when the young man found the firearm and he did the right thing, he was so happy. And we happened to be walking on the west side of Syracuse, and Senator Rachel May was with me that day. We were doing an OG walk in the community, and he ran up to me and he said, OG, you're going to be so proud. He said, I found a firearm in a bag while me and my friends were playing, and we did the right thing. We did what you taught us to do. And we went and got the adult, and the adult went and got the police and had the police come. He was so proud that he listened. And as he was telling the story, Senator Rachel May was standing there, and a guy who was running for office at the time, George Malavenda, was standing there as well when the individual young kid came walking up to me, and that inspired me to want to do the coloring book and tell the stories in illustration. The next story is very interesting because the kids were, in a situation where they were playing drive-by, and I stumbled upon them and I talked them out of not playing that game and to play something positive instead of playing gang members who are shooting each other. And they were calling off the gang names as well. So, when I heard that, I pulled them all over to the side and I said, hey, look, I pulled out $100 out of my pocket. And I said, here, I'm going to buy these toy guns from you, right? I want you to take this money and go buy you some footballs and basketballs. And next time I see you, I want to see you playing with the footballs and basketballs instead of playing like you're shooting each other. Okay. And don't you know those kids did that?
Amen.
And I was so proud when I came back, I gave them some more money. Bought them some things from the store. Let them
Yeah.
all go ahead and get them a treat and a juice from the store, so that they can have some more fun, you know. And that's how this book was inspired by the stories that I was going through with the kids, because all of the little kids know, George, they know what's going on. The kids 5 and 6 years old will come up into me and tell me stories. My mom boyfriend has a gun, or my mom uh, uh, um, um, brother got shot, and these kids are 5 and 6, 7 years old, and they know what's going on.
Yeah.
So this was a way of teaching the kids,
So, so how,
in a kid-friendly way.
how do they get the book?
So you can get the book, right, through contacting me. Uh, you can contact me at my website, um, the www.ogsagainstviolence.org. You can contact me through ogsagainstviolence@gmail.com. You can also contact me at my personal cell phone number, which is 607-235-4489. And those three um, um, communications, you can contact me, and I will make sure that you get the book. Plus, when I go to events here in the community, I am tabling the books
And
and bracelets and t-shirts and stuff like
and,
that as
and
well.
and what is the cost of the book?
There's no cost.
Free. Whoa.
There's no
Okay.
cost. There's no cost because I want to give back to my community,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
My community gave me, so I want to give back to my community. So I donate, the books, whenever a kid wants one, and they're very popular. They're very popular. Every time I table, I pass out about a good 5 to 10 to 15 books. The little kids love it.
All right.
Yes,
The website ogsagainstviolence.org, ogsagainstviolence at gmail.com. Cliff at 607-235-4489. We'll have this
yes,
number for you on the video, and they are on Facebook, OGs Against Gun Violence.
yes, sir.
Clifford Ryan up in the
Yes.
place to be.
Thank you for
Appreciate you, brother.
having me, brother.
Keep
I
doing
really appreciate you.
the good work.
You as well, brother.
Thank you, thank you. And by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see Clifford standing right in front of the Martin Luther King Jr. statue in New York, in Binghamton, New York. The only statue, Cliff tells me, to Dr. Martin Luther King in the state of New York. So, you can see that when you're in Binghamton, New York. Cliff, keep doing that work, brother. God is
Thank
with
you.
you.
Thank you. I
Inspiration,
appreciate you. Thank you for giving me the platform, brother. You keep doing what you're doing as well.
inspiration for the nation.